Hello viewers, welcome to K Diagnostics. Dio here. Today we have a 2007 Ford Edge with a 3.5 liter. The customer complaint on this vehicle is the tire pressure monitor light is blinking on the dash while the engine is running. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start the engine so we can confirm the customer's complaint. After confirming the customer's complaint, then we will talk about what we're going to do so we can fix whatever that's causing the tire pressure monitor light to blink on the dash. So I'm going to start the engine. Let's see if that light is going to blink. So right there, right off the bat, as you can see, with the engine running, this light over here is blinking. Now, this tire pressure monitor light blinks because there is a malfunction in the TPMS system. Now, this tire pressure monitor light blinking can be caused by a defective sensor, one or various sensors that are not responding. Usually, if you just have low air in one of the tires, the light will stay on solid, and if you check your air pressure, you will realize that maybe one or two tires doesn't have the right amount of air, and then you add the air, you should be good. As you can see right now, it's stopped blinking. So the blinking you first saw was because there's a malfunction, okay? So the computer, the tire pressure monitor control unit, is trying to communicate with, I believe, one or a couple sensors that are not working on this one. If it cannot talk to those sensors, it's gonna keep blinking, you know, notifying the driver that, hey, there's a problem. And then when it stays solid, that's when it basically gives up. It says, hey, you know what? I tried to speak to these sensors, they're not talking, so there's a problem, and here comes the light. Okay, so having the correct amount of air in the tires is very important because it can actually help with the tire's life, and it can also help with the fuel economy. So I hope this is going to be a quick and easy one. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the engine. Now, in case you are wondering how this system works, so basically there are sensors in each wheel, and these sensors send a signal, okay? It's like a radio frequency type signal to the TPS control unit, and then the TPS control unit processes that signal. It processes the information to know which sensor is talking and which wheel has the correct amount of air or which wheel needs air, okay? So that's basically how it works. Now we're gonna use this tool over here to check the TPMS sensors at each wheel. This tool over here is gonna communicate with the sensor, and if the sensor is able to talk back, we should be able to see it over here on the tool. So that will tell us that the sensor is talking, and then we will go to the next one, okay? So, and there are a couple ways of doing this. We could use this tool. We can use my other scan tool to scan the control unit through the scan tool. So there are a couple ways to go about this. So I haven't used this tool in a while, so I would like to use it today. So let's turn this on. Okay, so I'm gonna be using these buttons over here to navigate through the menu. And if I wanna enter, I'm gonna press the center button over here, this Y button, to enter, okay? So we're gonna go to the, right there, to the TPMS symbol right there. Now this is a Ford, so we're gonna go to Ford. So this is a Ford Edge. So let's go to Edge. And this is a 2007. So we're gonna scroll down until we find the 2007. Okay, so as you can see, we got two options over here. The first option is 2007 to 2010 with no chrome rims. So this one has chrome rims, so we're gonna use this one. 2007 with chrome rims, okay? So we're gonna click OK on this one. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to each wheel and scan the sensors, okay? So now let's go outside the vehicle and do that. So actually, before we go outside, I want to show you the sensors. I already went ahead and got a couple sensors from the dealer. So these are OE sensors. I got these sensors from Ford. Okay, I always like using OE sensors because I mean they last longer, and I mean I've had good luck with these OE sensors. Usually when I install OE sensors I have less comebacks, but when I use the aftermarket sensors, sometimes they don't last as long. So let's go and scan the sensors. After we scan all the sensors, whichever sensors will not respond are the sensors that are defective. We're gonna replace them and then we should be good to go. And the good thing about these OEM sensors is that once you install them, you actually don't have to do a relearn, okay? Because the aftermarket ones, you have to write the sensor ID inside the TPMS control unit. But these ones don't require rewriting the sensor ID in the TPMS control unit, because once you install these, you just have to drive the car and they basically do the relearn by themselves. Okay, so let's go to the vehicle and scan these sensors and see which ones will respond. So let's do that. Alright, so like we're shown over here on the screen, we're gonna start with the left front wheel. So I'm going to press this button over here, and then we're gonna take this tip of the tool towards the valve stem right there, and then I'm gonna press this button. So right there, as you can see, we are able to read this sensor over here. Okay, so the sensor on the left front wheel has, this wheel over here has 33.4 psi. It looks like the battery on the sensor is starting to get weak. Okay, so the sensor on the left front is working. So now let's go to the right front wheel. So let's go over here and scan this one. We're gonna do the same thing. Just put it over here by the valve stem and then press the button. Oh, is that for your van?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright guys, so as you can see, we have an X mark over here. So this means this sensor over here is not communicating. Okay, so this sensor is dead. The sensor on the right front wheel is not talking. And as you saw, that sensor was taking too long, so this sensor is dead. So now let's go to the next wheel. Alright, so now we're gonna scan this one over here. So I'm gonna press this button. Let's see if it's gonna read the sensor on this tire. So we have one sensor on the right front that's not reading. So let's look at this one. So usually when I see the tool taking too long to read a sensor, that's an indication of a defective tire pressure monitor sensor, because it usually doesn't take too long to recognize the sensor. I don't know if you can tell the difference. When we scanned the left front wheel, it actually read the sensor pretty fast. But this one over here actually is taking a long time. Right there, as you can see, there's an X mark over there. So that means that sensor is not talking. Okay, so it's most likely dead. So let's go over here to the last wheel. We're gonna do the same thing. Press over here. Actually, we have to tell the tool what sensor we're checking now. So let's press there. And again, this side is also taking long. Since it's taking long like this, I'm pretty sure this sensor is not working. So it looks like we have 3 bad sensors on this vehicle. So right there, as you can see, we only have one sensor that's communicating on this vehicle. Okay, so actually we're gonna go over here. So right there, this is the report. As you can see, one sensor is working, so the left front is working, but the battery is low on it. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's gonna die soon. And then the other ones are not working. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put the vehicle on the lift, and then we will remove the tires and change these sensors. After we change the sensors, I'm gonna test drive it. Since we're gonna put OE sensors on this, it should be good to go. Unless someone had put aftermarket sensors in it, and then I'll see whether I have to just get aftermarket sensors or if we're gonna install OE sensors. But let's remove the tires first and look at the type of sensors we have here, okay? So now I'm gonna get the vehicle on the lift, and then I'll bring you guys back up once I get the tires off. Alright, so I got the wheels removed, so now we're gonna take them to the tire machine so we can check the TPMS sensors. I'm going to let air out of the tire first. So I'm gonna remove the wheel weight first. And then we're actually gonna get the tire bed off the rim. So we're gonna use this arm over here. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm gonna put a little bit of lube on the tire bed over here, just to help the tire come out easily when we are ready to remove it. Alright, so now we're gonna sit the tire on the machine. So I'm gonna step on this left side pedal here, which is going to go to the rim on the machine. So right there. So now we're gonna bring this arm over here. So we have to make sure we lock this arm before we pry the outer edge of the wheel. Now this is not a how to replace a tire off the rim video. Maybe in the future I'll make a video, but just so I can show you the process of how to get to the TPMS sensor. Okay, so once we get this edge of the tire above the grit over here on the arm, so now we're going to spin the wheel. So I'm going to press on this pedal over here, which is going to spin the wheel. So right there. Now I'm going to grab the inner edge. We're going to spin the wheel again. So now our tire can come out. So the tire is removed. Now, where is our sensor? So we're gonna spin the wheel. So here is our tire pressure monitor sensor. I'll bring you guys over here so you can have a closer look of the sensor. So this is the sensor that we're gonna replace. So here is the sensor on the rim that we have to replace. It looks like it still has original sensors, so we're just gonna luckily I got the original sensors also. So once we put the new sensor here and put the right amount of air in the wheel and drive the vehicle, we should be good to go. And after we install the tire, we're gonna have to balance it, okay? After taking the tire off the wheel, when you put it back together, you have to balance it again. All right, so now before we install a new sensor, we're gonna clean up this the edge of the rim. So the bead over here has to be cleaned. As you can see, it's dirty, so we're gonna clean this so that the tire can sit properly, because sometimes when you have a lot of dirt here, it can actually cause tire leaks. Okay, I mean air leaks from the tire. Alright, so I'm gonna clean the whole circumference of the rim, and then I'll bring you guys back up so that we can install the new tire pressure monitor sensor. As you can see, it's starting to look clean, so that's good. Alright guys, so I cleaned the rim. As you can see, the bead of the rim over here is good, so these edges are really cleaned. So let's spin the rim and make sure everything is clean. And also the sensor band looks good. So when you replace the sensor, especially in these old style TPMS sensors, you have to make sure that the band is good. So as you can see, the band is intact. Okay, so now we're gonna bring the sensor here so we can replace it. Alright, so here is our tire pressure monitor sensor. There is a little plastic clip over here that holds the sensor in place. So I'm going to pry it out and remove it. So here is the clip, okay, for the tire pressure monitor sensor. So we're gonna remove it. And now we're gonna remove the sensor. So basically the sensor hinges on the band on this side. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually lift this side of the sensor. So we're gonna pry this a little bit. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. And then we're gonna lift up, okay? So it just swings like that. Okay, so here comes the old sensor. Okay, so this is defective. Now I'm gonna go grab the new sensor so we can install it. We're gonna clean the sensor seat over here, so that's good. Now here is our new TPMS sensor, and here's the part number. I hope you can see the part number right there. And as you can see, it looks like the old one that we just removed. Let me bring it actually. Okay, so here are both TPMS sensors. This is the new one and this is the old one. As you can see, they look identical. So the good thing about using the OE sensors, we don't have to program this one. We're just going to drive it and it should do the learning process by itself. Okay, so we don't have to write the sensor ID in the TPMS control unit. Okay, so the way you install this is you basically hold it this way. It hinges over here, and then you just push it down. Basically just push like that, and that's all. Okay, and now we're gonna grab this little locking tab out of the bag. So this tab over here, I hope you can see that. So this tab is gonna go right here, to lock the sensor. So right there, as you can see, the sensor is locked in place, so we are good to go. I'm gonna give you guys a closer look. So that's the sensor right there. So it hinges over here, and this little plastic clip just holds it in place. Okay, good. So now let's reinstall the tire. Alright guys, so the sensor is installed. Everything looks good. Okay, I'm just gonna double check and make sure that the sensor is locked in place. So now we're gonna install the wheel. We're gonna install the tire. Okay, so this side is gonna go down. I know this tire is muddy, so this is not pleasant to touch. Alright, so now we're gonna spin the wheel so we can sit the tire on the rim. Alright, so as you can see, the tire is installed on the rim. So now we're gonna put air in the tire. Now as you're doing this, you have to make sure you wear some eye protection, okay? You don't want to do this without protecting your eyes. So now I'm gonna reinstall the valve, the shredder valve. Alright, so we're gonna put more air in the tire. Alright guys, so I got the air pressure inside the tire up to 35 psi. So at this point I'm going to balance the tire. I'm not going to film the process of balancing the tire because honestly I hate doing tires. Like doing tires is like my least favorite thing to do. Okay, so I'm gonna do the other two tires. Remember we had 3 bad TPMS sensors. I'm gonna do the other 2 tires off camera. Once I'm done installing new TPMS sensors on the other tires and balancing all of them, then I'll bring you guys back up so we can install the tires on the vehicle, and then we'll take it for a test drive to see if the TPMS sensor light will go off on the dash. So I will do that and then I'll bring you guys back up once I'm done. Alright guys, so I have installed the tires back on the vehicle. These 3 tires got new TPMS sensors. I also put the right amount of air in the tires, and the correct air pressure on these tires is 35 psi. So now I'm gonna lower the vehicle. We're gonna test drive it to see if the tire pressure monitor light will go off. So now let's do that. We are back in the vehicle, so now I'm gonna start the engine. So let's see if the tire pressure monitor light will go off on the dash. So right there, as you can see, the light is blinking. Okay. So I'm gonna back up a little bit. Actually, as we start to drive, it's gonna do a relearn by itself, but if it doesn't, we can use the TPMS tool to actually erase whatever trouble codes we may have in the TPMS module. Alright, so let's drive this and see what happens. Alright, so we're driving. Let's drive the vehicle and see if the light will go off. Alright guys, so we're driving. As you can see, it is daylight. It's not night time anymore. So I had to stop the video last night because my camera battery died. I didn't have my charger with me. I had left my camera charger at home, so I couldn't charge the battery. And it was getting late and I was also tired, so I ended the video there. Now this morning I got back to the shop and I picked up this car. I wanted to drive it a little bit more. Last night when my camera died, the light was still on, so I just turned around and drove back to the shop. But I knew I just had to drive the vehicle a little bit longer to have the light to go off. So I'm driving right now, and guess what? The TPMS light on the dash is off. I'm gonna show you the dash so you can see. So right there, as you can see, no more TPMS light on the dash, and there are no lights on the dash. So this is good. This is fixed. We can actually call the customer when we get back to the shop so he can come and pick up his car. Okay, so this vehicle needed 3 TPMS sensors. Now I'm gonna notify the customer about the 4th TPMS sensor that has a low battery. The battery is actually getting weak on that sensor, so I will tell the customer that that sensor will most likely die soon. I wanted to replace all 4 of them, but the parts store doesn't have it. Okay, they only had 3 in stock. So I'm going to drive back to the shop so we can wrap up this video. So basically, after replacing the sensors, I just had to drive it. So I drove it around and the light went off by itself. So I will drive back to the shop and then I'll bring you guys back up so we can wrap up this video. Alright guys, we are back at the shop. As you can see, the engine is still running and the TPMS light did not come back on. So I'm gonna turn off the engine. So that's it guys, this is fixed. This vehicle needed 3 TPMS sensors. Since we used original equipment TPMS sensors, there was no need to reprogram them. Okay, usually from experience, when you have TPMS sensors from the dealer, I mean the original ones, you just have to install them, drive the vehicle around, then the TPMS sensor control unit will recognize the sensor and the light will go out. So that was the case on this video. I'm gonna leave this right over here. I hope you liked the video. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Thanks for watching guys. See you next time.